and welcome to the Village Council meeting. It's our regular meeting of May 23rd, 2022. It is 7 p.m. and we'll call this meeting to order. We'll begin by the pledge with Trustee Randazzo leading us this evening, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next up this evening is the roll call. When you're ready, Jenna, please.
Rice.
Here.
Dylas.
Present.
George.
Here.
Green.
Yes.
Hayden.
Here.
Nivell.
Here.
Randazzo.
Here.
Thank you. We will be looking for the approval of the agenda for the evening.
I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda with adding the Old Town Hall accessibility to be put back on the agenda in the same place, which was new business item B. And then we'd also like to have pickleball.
Discussion on the pickleball situation.
And I think that would
Pickleball
be
courts.
unfinished business.
Okay.
All right, so pickleball would be unfinished B, and the Old Town Hall would be what?
Where it was under new business item.
It was B.
Can we just put it on E so we don't have to move everything around?
That's fine. I was just sticking it where it was, but that's fine. That doesn't matter to me. Makes it easier, actually, to just put it at the end.
Anything else? Do we have a support?
Support.
All right, motion by Trustee Nivell, supported by Trustee Green to approve the amended agenda. Any questions or comments at this time? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that motion carries 7-0. Next up is the approval of the council minutes. That will be our regularly scheduled meeting of April 25th and the budget workshop of May 9th. Looking for a motion?
Motion to approve the council minutes of April 25th, 2022, and May 9th of 2022.
Support.
We have a motion on the table by Trustee Green, supported by Trustee Hayden. Do we have any questions or comments?
I do for the May, I thought they were gonna go separate. So on the May 9th, I did have some changes to put on that. I contacted Ryan. He said the best thing to do would be to bring it up at the meeting tonight. Do I tell you the changes or just get that info into Jenna?
I think I would like to hear the changes if there if anything significant.
Oh,
Revise my motion
Definitely.
to just include
the
the April 25th, 2002 minutes.
I support the amended motions.
All right. Any questions or comments on the April 25th minutes? All right, hearing none. Those all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Next up is the budget workshop meeting minutes of May 9th. A motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve the May 9th, 2022 minutes with the change of putting a, let's see, where is this? At the very bottom, putting in there that Trustee Nivell requested a cap on village council pay and also requested line items be considered for Heritage Garden and Trails within the Parks and Rec budget.
Do we have a support for that?
Or,
All right.
Trustee George?
Question or comments at this time?
What was it again, the limit on the pay for the council?
Yeah, to put a cap on village council pay, and also request that line items be considered for Heritage Garden and Trails within the Parks and Rec part of the budget.
Just, if I heard what you said, you wanted to have that, Nivelt suggested those two items, correct?
Correct.
So my concern with that is none of our comments or suggestions were added. It was a 2-hour meeting. If we were to add all of the things that we suggested and requested, and that's not the point of the minutes. The point of the minutes is specifically the items that were stated and the items that were changed and done.
Okay, just
So I
say it was
hesitate-
suggested.
So I hesitate that any of us specifically have our opinions stated and the rest of us don't. That is a concern of mine.
If anyone would like their opinions in the minutes, they certainly can say so. And if you don't want to have my name in there as the suggestion, you can say it was suggested. I have no problem with that.
I think it's fine to say it was suggested. I see something that I had brought up, and it's just noted in there as it was suggested, so these can also be noted the same way.
Anyone else, questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we have a motion on the table by trustee Nivell, supported by trustee George, All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Item number 6 this evening is the acceptance items of the finance report from the village treasurer from April, and the revenue and expenditure report from the village treasurer from April as well. The next item this evening is the approval of disbursements ending in May 15th, 2022. Looking for a motion?
Motion to approve the disbursements dated 4/16/22 to 5/15/22.
Trustee George, support.
We have a motion on the table by trustee Green, and it's supported by trustee George. Any questions at this time?
Should we include the amount in that motion?
I think we
Good
did.
idea.
$22,735.70.
Yep,
Yes,
that's
thank
it.
you.
Would you like to include that?
Yes.
Pat, you support that?
I do.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, Jenna, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Dylas,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 7-0. Next up for this evening is our public comment. Please remember at this time it is on agenda items only. We would love to hear from you. You have 3 minutes to speak. Later on in the agenda, you will see we do have a space for non-agenda items, and we would love to hear from you at that time. Anybody, if you just want to stand or raise your hand or anything you have to share with us, please do. All right, well, we hope to hear from you later on. Item 9 this evening is the approval of our consent agenda. This is the minutes of the Historical Society from March 19th, the minutes of the Township Library from March 22nd, the minutes of the Township Board from April 4th, the minutes of the Historical Society from April 12th, The minutes of the Friends of the Trail meeting, which was April 14th. The minutes of the DDA, which was April 18th. The minutes of the Historical Space Subcommittee, April 26th. The minutes of the Wayfinding Subcommittee, April 27th. The attorney invoice from May 10th. The minutes of the IT Committee from May 4th. The special events permit for the DDA barbecue takeover, August 11th. The special events permit from the DDA for the June Eats in the Streets on June 16th. And the special events permit from the DDA for the Eats in the Streets, September 22nd. Looking for a motion on the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Support, trustee Green.
Thank you. We have a motion by trustee Hayden, supported by trustee Green. Any questions at this time? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that motion carries 7-0. Next on our agenda is the item from the trustees, including your subcommittee updates. So if we can start with Keith, please.
I'm sorry?
Can we start with you, please?
Sure. Obviously you see a lot of street work going on in the village. We have not had a meeting lately, because of the projects that have been going on. So I have nothing new.
Thank you. All right, next up
They're
is,
doing a really nice job.
It looks really good, yeah.
next up is Pat, please.
Yeah, from a historical society standpoint, recently we had the tour bus come in from out of town and toured the historical society building on Saturdays ago. Very, very nice. I think the actual number of people that showed maybe were around 16. I think they were. But good crowd. Of course, the people that are on that bus are very interested in the goings on, and it was a beautiful day, right out of a picture book. And they were there for an hour, and I think in retrospect, an hour just boom. Because we've been in that mill before and looking around. I could spend an hour just in one room in that building. So I think we'll do it again. It was a big success. Everybody had a good time and left kind of quickly. There's been talk in the future that maybe we would do something else like that again, and we would make it an entire morning, something maybe from even 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock or 8:30 or 9 o'clock to noon time, and then feed them something, feed them something, put them back on the bus. but give them more time, you know. And yeah, just that was fun. Just a lot of fun.
Wonderful. All right, Kate, please.
We've been meeting, the Personnel Committee has been meeting usually at least twice a month right now, trying to get through everything. You had an opportunity to send in your comments for the personnel changes that you wanted to see. And I think those are all in, the due dates passed and.
The policy changes, not changing personnel per se.
Well, all right. Sorry about that.
Surprise!
I had no intention of changing personnel. We are also working on the wellness. We're reviewing it. It needs to be updated, and I can't read some of my writing. We don't really have any recommendations until we do the review. That's going to be done this week, I believe, if not soon. The employee evaluations, we're working on that. We have a template that we've been looking at, and we are meeting on that Thursday, for sure. So Ryan had got one off of the template off of the internet, and we'll be discussing that on Thursday. That's all I have.
Thanks, Kate.
Thank you. All right, Larry, please.
Yes, the IT committee met earlier this month and reviewed several open topics. You can note those in the meeting minutes that were in the agenda. Some of the line items that you will see in those meeting minutes are highlighted in blue because they can be addressed by a migration to Office 365, and that is an agenda item for later this evening, and we can discuss it in more detail then. But there's several points that we've been looking at trying to address, older server, inconsistent software, things like that, and I think a lot of those things will be addressed by the topic that we'll be discussing later tonight. So other than that, I don't know, is there any questions from anybody on the IT stuff? That's it for me.
Thanks, Larry.
Yeah. Melanie, please.
Heritage Garden, the meeting notes are in your packet. The target date is hopefully July 25th for a presentation to Village Council by Ron Campbell and the committee. Wayfinding, all the notes are in your packet as well. We're getting information and preparing for a presentation with Lakata. Let's see, do we want to talk about the other things at this point, or I just want to mention a couple other things, but do we wait, you want to wait till additional items?
It's up to you, if you wanna
Okay,
address
just,
anything.
I'm gonna, yeah, I'll throw it out there. I did the trail hike with about 10 volunteers. That was pretty cool, but it rained. I wanted to let everyone know, but I'm sure you read it in the minutes, the township did create and approve a county drainage district, which we were hoping, and they did, so that's very good. I apologize for not making the Old Mill tour, but Pat, there was a story, I think, on the quilting that maybe you can fill people in, or Ryan can.
On the Historical Society?
Yeah.
Rugs.
And
Yeah,
the-
there was a gal from, way up at the tip there, on Mackinac, and was on that bus, on that tour. My understanding is that she bought close to a half dozen, 5 or 6 of our rugs to take back with her in her store to display. That's how much she liked them, so.
Yeah, Mission Point, Mackinac.
Yeah, Mission Point, yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's great.
And I've been there before, no, that's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's
Yeah,
wonderful. Whoever's making
that was
those.
incredible, yeah. She was one of the tourists, yeah.
DDA, and I'm sure, Tanya, you'll talk more about the mural award and spring market. And I believe that's it. The paving, I'll talk about that later. I'll just make a comment then. That's it. Thank you.
Melanie.
Any movement on planning commission with the zoning rewrites?
No, our meeting is next week. Yeah, next week.
Yeah, Carlisle Wortman will be at the planning commission meeting.
Yeah.
On the 7th, I think it is.
Is it?
Tuesday,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and that is the first time they'll be coming back with us, so there hasn't been any updates since the last time they were with us, but thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tony, please.
Yes, as far as Parks and Rec, since pickleball is added on there, I had a few meetings today, so I'm gonna discuss it when we get to that.
That's good.
Anything else? All right. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
Ryan, anything you want to add at this point?
No, I think we're down to year 2. DDA and RRC.
Oh. All right. RRC did not meet this month. We are looking at a workshop to get all the heads together at the same time and break down our last few items and get through that. We've kind of all been working independently, finishing up tail ends of things that we either need to revise or find additional information on and gather up. So that's our next steps. DDA, and I will make a plug at the end again as a reminder. But the farmers market preview is this Saturday, 9 to 2. Again, it is a separate but shared entity of DDA, but the farmers market is an independent rent entity of their own. You'll see some wonderful new changes this year in the farmer's market. You'll see some additions. And this is a chance to come out and preview what's going on. It's also a chance for those of us that would love to volunteer to do that as well. You can contact Heather, who is the market manager. You can be a part of the farmer's market, the Ortonville Farmer's Market Facebook page, and you can see where the slots are to fill in as well. You can give Matt a call. I know he has them in his office as well. So however you would like to contact, if you'd like to, that would be fabulous. Again, lots of new and exciting, and some same favorites returning as well for that. Matt, Courtney, Leanne, and I had a chance to go to the National Main Street Conference the beginning of last week. We're meeting this week to kind of gather everything up that we would like to share and bring back to everybody, besides the million ideas bouncing around in our heads. So look forward to that in the next packet, where it will kind of be clean and organized instead of our fabulous little notes that we took. So thank you again for that experience. It was wonderful. Divide and Conquer. There were multiple 6, 7 events a day that each of us attended. So do the math. That's close to 30 different things in which we were able to gather information on and bring back to us. So super excited about that. And as Melanie mentioned, the Welcome Back to Ortonville mural has won an award at the county level with the DDA. We did mention the event was the first week of May, and you have a chance to submit items that you think are a good idea or people to recommend you for in your communities. And of the 20-some communities, we did win an award for that one. It was kind of fun to see as the photos of the mural were advertised there, and we had our 5 minutes of fame and bragging rights. That is posted on our DDA Facebook page, that is posted on the DDA's website, and that is also posted on Oakland County Main Street page as well. So you can go ahead and check that out and see. And I thank you, all of you who were able to join us. I know some of you weren't able that evening. Some might be watching their children that night, but got out of it a little, But we appreciate it. So thank you for the support on that. And that's all at this point. And there's nothing else you had, Ryan, to add?
That rounds out our couple committees. Yeah.
None of us forgot anything. All right, anybody else think of anything they forgot?
Spring Market, the raffle tickets came to 1,044, which was, I think last year was at, I don't know, 5 to 7, I don't know, but I know 1,000 was almost double what they did last year. And was for the baskets, the raffle tickets strictly for the baskets. So that was a great fundraiser for DDA.
All right, item 11 this evening is our unfinished business, and we will start with the DPW storage shed and send it over to Manager Mathis.
All right, so at the April 25th Village Council meeting, it was requested to postpone a vote on the DPW storage shed item. A couple alternatives have been considered, and this item seeks a different approach to solve this problem. So your packet contains a quote from Containers for Sale, LLC, for 2 shipping containers. These would be used to store items related to DDA events as well as DPW equipment. Currently, DDA items are stored all over the place. You can see a few on display now. And the DPW rents a storage unit at the mini storage on the edge of the village there. The previous item called for a roof to be attached to the DPW salt barn and was only going to allow for outdoor storage. Just the cost of creating a structure like that has gone up significantly in the last few years. And 2 enclosed storage containers gives us lockable storage that is enclosed and secure from elements and other things of that nature. You can read about it there in your packet. The DDA has committed funds to this project related to the restaurant relief grant from Oakland County as well. So, so they're involved in that way.
Do you know what that amount is?
I want to say it's around $5,000. I want to say $5,400, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. That's my rough figure. But having 2 gives us 1 for DDA stuff, 1 for DPW stuff. Yeah, so some work to prepare the site will be required. The DPW staff can work to ensure that the delivery occurs as smoothly as possible. Once we were to order these storage containers, delivery is scheduled for about a week or so after. They come from their yard in Highland Township. Both 20-foot containers would arrive on one truck, and DPW equipment could be used to set them in their final space. So I recommend the Village Council approve the purchase of 2 new 20-foot shipping containers from Containers for Sale LLC in the amount of $9,200.
I'd like to make a motion that the village purchase 2 new 20-foot shipping containers from Containers for Sale LLC.com in the amount of $9,200.
Support.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table by trustee Dialis, supported by trustee Hayden. Are there any questions or comments?
I do. Is the 5,500, is that part of this number, or is it in addition to?
Part of.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah, just thank you, Ryan and Bob, for thinking outside of the box, so to speak, and coming up with some different boxes for containing your stuff.
Thank you.
That's part of it. Purpose.
All right, Jenna, we're ready for a roll call vote, please.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo, Bryce,
Yes.
Dialis.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries 7-0. Item B on unfinished business this evening is pickleball. Who would like to start with that?
I would like to start. This pickleball renovation project has been kicked around for a lot of years. I think when I go back on it, Tanya, from a council standpoint, I want to say it was probably around fall of 2019 that we put it on the books as being okay to develop the skate park area there, and we put in a $2,000 line item on it. We said we'll get to it next spring. Next spring was COVID, and the next spring was COVID, and this thing's been kicked around for a while. At any rate, and I think it's a relatively easy thing to do, and I mean that. At any rate, when Courtney was here a while back and made a rather impassioned plea for help for our downtown businesses as such, to increase ways to increase foot traffic coming downtown. So I talked with people, including Ryan, and two things that popped up right away are things that we work on. One is the trails. We can bring down more people, get those trails developed enough and get people coming down. That helps. The second thing would be those pickleball courts, and relatively easy to do, pull in a lot of people, and yada yada. Anyway, so that's it. So I price out paint on it at current prices, and I get about, I think it was around $1,300 for paint, maybe $1,400 for paint. A couple nets at $700 each. And the bottom line is, and a few other things, bottom line is it would be, I think I had around $3,200 total on it. And rather than, what we would do with this is we would paint the entire slab, which is 15,000 square feet. Paint the entire slab with a nice green color, flat base paint, and painting the lines of a pickleball court can be difficult, but what we would do to make it easier is use tape and white tape on it and do the lines that way. And Bob and the crew put up the nets, and everything would be bingo bangle, and we could have that thing done in a couple of weeks. We could have it done in a weekend, but right now, this weekend, there is a tournament, a baseball tournament that always has been coming in recent years, that under the lights. So I thought, rather than have wet paint, they like to sit in there. Well, understandably, it's a big area to sit in. But rather than do it this weekend, we would do it starting maybe next week. So all of a sudden, I'm told, well, you have to stop doing that. We got looking at renovating this pickleball court. Why? Well, because it appears that the township and Brandon Parks and Rec has a $16,000 grant to upgrade the pickleball courts. And I do remember Fred coming in, and I didn't remember anything about the grant. I remember him talking about pickleball courts upgrading, and it would be, at the earliest, it would be June of next year. Okay. But when I tried to proceed with the paint, I was basically held hostage and told, well, you can't do that because that doesn't meet the constrictions of the CDBG grant. Why? It just doesn't. You cannot make any improvements to it, yada, yada, yada. So I guess my point is, my understanding is, in order for something to be valid, that we should have been approached by Parks and Rec that they had this grant, and my understanding is it's up to the council to approve it or not. That's never happened. So how did we get hijacked without our knowledge is my question, and what do we do about it? And the point of seriousness I have, and I'll stop on this, is, to me, I think there's a sense of urgency with this in a number of ways. One is going back to what Courtney said. But the other thing too on these grants is, okay, so right now we're looking a year away, and we're not going to basically be able to do anything to improve that skate park to use. I know some things are being thrown around, but it's pretty small. So that's the best it's going to be. What if they start late? And again, it's $16,000 versus our $3,200 budget. And same thing, 2 pickleball courts, and you know how that goes. Well, it was supposed to be tentatively June of next year. Oh, I'm sorry, I guess it's going to be August. Well, yeah, about September, and there goes another season. So there's 2 years without anything being done in that park. So I'm just wondering, to me, what I would prefer to do is say thank you very much, Parks and Rec, for not letting us know about this in a timely and correct manner. And I would like to proceed the way we had it, just from a council standpoint. It's going to look nice. $16,000 to me is going to be like, you know, the $1.25 million mansion cut into the, you know, the mountain where the little cottages are. It'll look fine, but it's a little bit out of place, you know. And I would just as soon say, hey, take your grant, modify it, whatever, but we want to get something in there now, and it would be extremely easy to do. Power wash it, paint it, put up the nets, boom, we're done. So I would like to do our end of it sooner rather than later, seeing as how I don't feel that Parks and Rec or the township has any real standing on this issue. That's it.
Well, we own the property.
And we own the property, thank you, King. Yeah, it's our property, it's our turf. We can't go into our own house. So, yeah, I'm very frustrated with this and upset, and I don't know how this happened, but they clearly are smart enough to have known that they shouldn't be bypassing us like that. So,
Could have been oversight.
and for $16,000, you know, that's a pretty large sneak attack. So that's it. So I'd like to just open that up, because if I had my way, I'd vote now and say, hey, we're going to go with our original plan. We're going to do it ourselves, and we're going to have it done by the middle of June of this year, and let's get on with life, and let's get some people downtown, and we'll let Parks and Rec, the township, deal with whatever adjustments they have to on that grant. That's it. So I'd like to go ahead with our original plan, I guess is my thing. And we can discuss this, but I would ultimately at the end like to make a motion that we do that. And right now we have $2,000 in that account. I would like to say, could we put another $2,000 in that account? Because it'll be $3,200. But $3,200 is a lot cheaper than $16,000. And you say, well, that's not going to look good. Yes, it will. Done. Thanks.
So do we have anything from Parks and Rec? That would be my first question. Obviously, that's their little avenue of our communication. What do we know?
I had met with Ryan twice today, Rosalind once, and Brett once. In between that today, I took some pictures. I'd like to pass those out to council. Is there a concern up for all of us?
I think there is. Yep.
We can share.
But yeah, we can share if we have to.
What I want to start out with first is something with this area. A couple things that need to be done. Special coating, I don't know the name of this coating that has to go on it, but it keeps from slipping
Right.
when they're playing. Fred basically said it's like a tennis court type material. The skate park itself, when that cement was poured, it was poured for that purpose of rolling wheels across it. If you walk on that when it's wet, you're gonna slip. And now with this grant, and again, this is, I kind of bulldozed my way into these meetings today. Ryan, I appreciate it, Rosalind, and Fred, I appreciate it as well. To try to get answers. Now, the grant money is $16,000. That's coming from the CDBG, from the township, which they have already voted to use that for. It's not their hands that are tying us with this, but the Oakland County Division states that we cannot develop this for any use of pickleball, meaning we can't make it permanent situation. Painting it would be a permanent. Putting lines on it with tape, not permanent. Painting it is permanent. I took these pictures, and I just want to jump to it. I'm sure we all seen this, but there is, and Fred wasn't even aware of it, on the last page, it's got two pictures. Okay. There's cracks on the west side of that pad. I refer to it as a pad. That crack, I don't know how deep it is, but I'm sure a crack is going to continue. The biggest problem is there's uneven cement in the west, on the west side, which Fred told me today he watched that, I believe, last year. He never recalled seeing that crack, so he believes that it started this, late winter, things like that. So that would have to be repaired or fixed, because that area there is a trip hazard. It doesn't even have to, as long as it's uneven, it's a trip hazard. So that would need to be repaired. The 16,000, I'm sorry, yeah, the 16,000, the township has that money, it just doesn't get released until January. When money gets released in January, they put it out to bid to 3 different companies, obviously lowest bid wins. And with that entire 16,000 can revamp that entire area. It can coat the cement, so, or the field, so it's not that slippery. The equipment, which I would assume consists of nets, poles, and also we can utilize that for landscaping as well. Primarily though, that money, the majority of it would go towards the actual court usage and all of that.
Did he supply you with a list, or at least what he had to attach to the grant, or any information that he put down of what it was gonna be used for?
No, because it's my understanding Rosalind was the one that applied for the grant.
And did Rosalind contact, Tanya, did she contact you, or Ryan, did she contact you?
She would not contact me. She would
No.
contact the office.
Did she?
did. Yep,
Did
I
she-
spoke to her today.
No. Before they allocated their CDBG funds, did they call and say, hey, we're thinking of allocating a portion of our funds to the skate park? Because I know they didn't come before council. Did they ever have a conversation with anybody?
I would have to look back in emails and things. I think if it was discussed, it was more informal in nature.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no, agreement of this is what it is and what it looks like and who's
No,
gonna do what and
yeah,
things
no
like that.
plan or, okay.
And, well, if I can, and I don't know, just throwing out a suggestion, that the township gives us their minutes in those, and we approve things, it could have been in one of those packages.
There was no
And it-
schematic. There was no schematic or drawing or
Oh,
anything.
fair.
Yeah.
I just thought you talked about how they voted and allowed it, that money to go over to us.
And as far as happening prior to township, I'm not entirely sure, but I know that we're all aware it was in the Brandon Township minutes that are in our packet and approved. We've seen them, read about it in the Citizen.
Now,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It didn't happen in
I
the
would
dark.
also say that, when we allocate CDBG monies,
We don't ask.
yeah, we don't have full detailed plans or anything up front. We say, okay, we're gonna allocate it this or that or the other. Then when it gets around to, it's approved and you're ready to quote the business out, that's when you get the detailed plans for exactly what you're gonna do with it. So at just allocating the money, I wouldn't expect to see plans.
But usually we do it for the village. The township did it for the village. And it is a little strange that we found out about it after the fact. I think it's wonderful that that they wanted to do that. But I think that the process is the only thing I have an issue with. There wasn't a process. And I wish
Keep in mind, this is a 2-year project that we have been involved with as well as township conversations. When Pat was on Parks and Rec, that was a conversation, a partnership with the township. I don't know if it came up or if it was halted because of COVID when you were on there. It's been a conversation with you on. This isn't a surprise. This is something that we willingly had multiple dialogues in a conversation to have partnership, to prepare for tournaments that the rec department would be involved with.
Right, absolutely.
So this isn't a surprise. This isn't something that we didn't say yes to. Rather,
say yes to the grant, Tanya, so
rather the
don't change it.
current council was aware that there was past history conversation, possibly not, but there has been continual conversation. This is going along the same lines as the DNR grant that we refused to get help from, and here we are 4 years later without a concession stand because we chose to do it ourselves. So the conversation should be, is this something we're interested in or not point fingers at each other. We have an opportunity to A, do it ourselves now, or B, do it in a year with the assistance. That's the decision. Not throwing people under the bus and calling
No,
people,
but I don't think
pointing
anybody
fingers.
is. I hope not. I wouldn't
So-
want anybody to do that.
They did not do it without our permission. We have given them permission for 2 years in a constant dialogue.
Yes, I was
Constantly.
on the previous council and
I
I do
didn't know we
remember this.
asked them to do that with our CDB. I know with
I
CDBG,
don't
you told us we couldn't even spend ours like that, so,
Melanie?
go ahead, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I do know that in past council, we did discuss this topic. This was raised, and I know that there was interest expressed that we would be interested in seeing those converted pickleball courts. I think Fred brought that to us and brought a lot of information to us about that, and we said, yes, we are interested in that. So I think that what we're seeing now is just a result of Fred's working on it over time and then finally coming to fruition. I don't think it's something that they blindsided us on. Having said that, I also, while I do agree with you, Pat, that I hate to see that just sitting there kind of like unused and vacant. On the other hand, we have a lot of little projects around here. We got Heritage Garden, wayfinding. We've got a memorial thing that we're hoping to recoup from the sales, but we had to shell out $10,000 for that. This is another thing where we'd put out a little, more money, and we don't have. These projects add up. They may seem like a little bit here and there, but then they add up. And next thing you know, we've spent $50,000 on all these little odds and ends things, and now we don't have the money to do some other things that might bring more value for our residents. So for me, I kind of feel that if the township is willing to provide CDBG funding to get those done, I'd rather let them use that money, and we can use our money towards other projects and things that I think also would bring value for our residents. So I'd rather, much as I don't like to see that vacant, I'd rather wait and let the township move forward and use that money for it. That's my feeling.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I just want to say that we we had an opportunity to use our CBDG funds, but we didn't do that. And I have a question for Wayne, because I just don't have my notes here and I can't remember. What was it that people said when you did the presentation? What did he say it would cost per unit? Per court?
To do what, a resurface or a purge court? Out in the, where you gotta start from scratch on the ground?
No, I think we were talking about the one where we weren't gonna do that, but
Just 6,000 a court.
6,000, that's what it was. So,
Repurpose.
to repurpose it, right. And we seem to think that would work, because the other was astronomical, and for 2 courts. I mean, that's what we were talking about. And I wished we could have done it when we talked about it, but now that they have given us the money, it's a very generous offer, and I think it would kind of be a slap in the face if we said, no, we don't want your money, we're gonna do it right now. I don't like waiting, but, you know, we're kind of in this. We have been waiting because of this, that, and the other thing. I think the smart thing to do would be to accept their offer and do the courts next year. Hopefully it's next year.
Yeah, like what Wayne said, I think Mr. George is underestimating the actual cost of refurbing that court. And I would suggest waiting and use the township money, because we don't have $15,000 or $10,000 to put into it.
So the other thing I appreciate these comments. What I also want to express is that, Larry, you mentioned for it to stay vacant. You don't have to keep it vacant. The only stipulation that Fred told me today was that whatever we do there, it cannot be anything to do with pickleball. Now, with that said, as an example, stupid example, say we wanted to paint a big checkerboard right in the middle of it. We can do that. It has nothing to do with pickleball. You wanted to make a little racetrack in there. You can do that. It has nothing to do with pickleball. Do not put a permanent net, because that could be considered pickleball even without the paint.
Can you do portable?
Now I'm sorry.
Portable? Can you do a portable net?
Now, that's the thing. If, and I don't know, and Wayne, please jump in and correct me, because I know you're avid with this. If there is some type of portable game for pickleball, you can put it up there. It's just like you going to some other park, setting up your game and playing it. As long as it's not permanent, it's not affecting this. It's not affecting the grant money. But if we decide to go with, I'm gonna say village money, we will never get the 16 grand at all. It's off the table, and township will divert that money somewhere else. If we go with them, then that's free federal money that we are obtaining. And I was told on 2 separate occasions that it would start out I refer to it as early spring to, just before summer. Not June, but, like May. Might even start earlier, depending on how the winter is next year. So those are the only 2 options we have. We either spend our money, the village money, and do it, and say thank you, but no thank you, or we just tough it out another, 7, 8 months. And we can utilize that area for something else.
In the meantime.
In the meantime, you could, like Pat mentioned, there's gonna be a group there this weekend with the baseball thing, they can use it. If somebody wanna rent it out to have a family gathering, we could do that.
Cornhole tournaments.
Cornhole
Yeah,
tournaments,
whatever.
anything like that. 4 games. I don't make them no more, but anything like that we can do. It just can't be a permanent situation with pickleball.
Yes, sir.
So, what you're avoiding, what the township is trying to avoid by not making anything permanent there is an issue called supplanting of funds. That's the issue. You do anything to make that look like a pickleball court, and then you go through a grant and have them build, upgrade, you've already done it, now you're supplanting funds. That's where the issue is.
Thank you.
But like I said, you can go out there with portable equipment, however you want to do it. It just can't be like the chief said, that way. Yes, I'm on the fence with it to a point, but, you know, my concern is how cement pad looks. Now, I've never been down, today was actually the first time I was actually down on that cement, and it does look really cool. I mean, it almost reminded me of maybe setting up a movie there, but,
Oh, yeah.
you know, it's a big thing, a big area. So, I know it's frustrating, but I guess at this point, I'm gonna ask that we be able to vote on it somehow tonight, and then I will let Ryan and Fred and Rosalind via email know what we decided.
Yeah. Yeah. Bottom line on it, Tanya, I got a feeling how this is gonna go, but I would just like to make a motion and vote on it, just so on public record we got it. That's all.
You can go ahead and make a motion.
Yeah,
This will be
well,
sharing my thoughts. I haven't shared anything yet.
Oh,
But go
right.
right ahead. No, go ahead. You can make a
No,
motion.
I was just gonna make a motion that the village proceed to use their own funds for upgrading the pickleball courts. That's simple, versus the CDB grant funds.
Are you going to give an amount?
Pardon me?
You kind of gave 2 amounts. Are you going to give an amount in your motion or no?
The bottom line would be about $3,200, but I'd like 4,000 just for some change.
What would you like?
So say
your motion to
4,000,
be?
how about 4,000? That's, we just spent about 600,000, so, you know, another 800 is not gonna matter.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Do we have support? No?
Support. That doesn't surprise me.
All right. Unfortunately, we do not have support for that motion. Sorry.
I guess to get it in the record books, I'd like to make a motion.
You what, pardon?
I guess to get it in the record books, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me finish this. Okay. All right, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow the township to invest their CBDG grant funds to upgrade the pickleball court. Or create a pickleball court, I should say.
Support.
Do we want to say location?
I don't know exactly how you describe that.
Former skate park.
Former skate park.
Okay. And you supported Kay? Okay. Question, comments, or discussion? I have one. I'd just like to share a couple thoughts. I know we kind of are leaning the opposite way, and that's fine, but I do want to share why I'm thinking. I think by doing that, it would free up the extra $2,000 that can already be allotted by a grant and allow us to use that for other things. I definitely would hesitate adding the extra $2,000 to give it to to make it the $4,000 that is not in our 2022 or 2023 budget. And I am very concerned about the partnership with the township. Not only that, us having discussions like this and making the township and Ryan and everybody drop their ball 2 seconds before our meeting for a meeting. We need to be transparent to our public, and this needs to be on an agenda item, well researched, and have all the information brought to us. And then we can make decisions that we know people are behind us. If we don't have this in front of us, we don't know what our public wants from us, and we don't get a chance to engage with them, and we don't get a chance to hear from them here. So that's just throwing caution to the wind, something that I like to see, and I hesitate when things are thrown on and decisions are made without us allowing to get feedback. That's my personal concern. Anybody else?
My last thought was too, because I worked with Fred in quite a lot last year when I was working on this. And the full intention that he had, even if we paid for it, he wanted to be able to hold tournaments or to have people come from other areas and be able to play there. And he was gonna run it for us, or for him, or for the township, or whatever, but it would be run by him. That's what he does. So I would hate to take that away too.
Anyone else? Any thoughts?
Yeah, one last comment. Yeah, when Fred came and let us know that they had approved and allocated a CDBG money, I mean, I thought it was wonderful. It was the first council had heard of it, at least some of us. Others had heard of more. And I thought it was great, and at that time, I did recommend that an agreement be made between the village and the township of how that would be handled as far as registration and tournaments and whatnot, just so both places knew what was going on, because there seemed to be some confusion with a couple of people. And since then, we've had a change of Park and Rec rep, so I hope that you will keep us updated with what the plans are, so we can at least see something as the process goes along.
Did you not think I kept you updated?
Huh?
Did you not think I kept you updated?
Well, we knew nothing about that until after, so.
It wasn't when I was on there that.
Right,
that
and
we
that's
did
what I'm
that.
saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. We had changes, so. But Fred could have talked to the office.
Well, and I did make it very apparent, I believe, use a word like that, that meetings that are going on, if it deals strictly with the community park, that's fine, it's on that. But anything that deals with parks and rec in the village, I need to be on that. Ryan should be on it. And anybody's name that's dropped, I know that the senior center, that if there was any storage of equipment, it could be done there. They needs to be on that letter. Anybody that has anything to do with it, or their names have been dropped in there, it has to be on it. Because all this today, yeah, I mean, I agree with Tanya. I wish I was a little bit more prepared for it, but this all came.
At the 11th hour? Right.
They all agreed that I would be on these emails, or whoever Parks and Rec person is. If I can just make a statement about that concession stand. Okay, the concession stand, we're not gonna be able to use this concession stand this year because it's gonna go under, I guess, totally down. That's what I'm assuming from.
That changed.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
We're wrong about that.
Yeah,
It's not a total rebuild.
I hope you heard wrong, because that's
Okay,
not what we
just
discussed.
It's a rehab.
Okay, so we can't use that building at all between June and, August.
Oh, right during these.
So,
I have a meeting with the architect on Wednesday.
Yeah, so if you could.
Sorry to steal your thunder, but I don't think we can speak to any definite timelines, at least until
Well, yeah,
Wednesday.
This is just what Fred and I had spoken about, so yeah, I totally remember you talking about that, so.
You might want to be in that meeting though, Tony.
Yeah.
Ryan.
We talked about it.
But
Oh.
we had like a 2-week thing going on with it, but I have to work that day, so I won't be able to.
Oh.
But we are going to have our June 16th.
Just keep in mind we're on pickleball.
Yes,
on
I
this
was gonna
item.
ask if we could get
So
back.
if you don't mind saving that for the
Oh, yeah.
other items. I don't wanna go too far off base. But I appreciate that. I think So Melanie's request was, is there possibly some type of contract? I also heard, are they possibly interested in using DPW? Those are questions that we would love to have in the dialogue. I know it's early. I know, you know, they're just, but kind of keep in the back of your mind questions that we might have. Definitely keep conversations going with Ryan. Ryan has them all in his head as well, and then, you know, pops them at you and you bring them back to us, and we all feel way more involved in the conversation. That'd be great. Yes.
Yes, just in terms of utilization of the park for any events, just like he does for the baseball tournaments and other activities in the village, I'm assuming that any special events would go through an event permit process like he usually does. I also agree that, you know, Fred's a great guy. He's very enthusiastic, but he sometimes can be difficult to coordinate with. You just gotta learn how to deal with him on that. I would hope to see that improve, but yeah, sometimes coordination is not there, and you can see this as an example of that. So hopefully the coordination between Parks and Rec on Brandon Township and our side will improve. You know, like I said, Fred's a very good, enthusiastic person.
He gets the job done.
Yeah, but I'd be more than happy to see the township and have us collaborate in the township to utilize that and utilize their funds to get it working, and we just got to work on those few issues about how do we coordinate and communicate better, and you know, make sure there's a process in place for how we utilize and share those spaces where we both can utilize them.
Another thought I had when you said about utilizing the space, I'm in there with my dogs multiple times a week. It's great. You shut the gate, they run around. They do it all winter, they do it all summer. There are many holes left from the equipment that was in there. Those would have to be patched. And if we can't patch for us to use before the grant, that would be a big concern. You know, yes, the cracks, but there are even the holes, and those will have to be patched as well. So I just thought about that. I mean, literally, I stuck my toe in it, you know, playing with the dogs with the ball. So little things like that would be then an insurance concern for us, and we don't want that either. So anyway, last thought. Anybody else? Anything? There is a motion on the table. We will review it, and then we will vote. Anybody else first? All right. Would you read that real quick, because we're so far?
Sure. To allow the township to invest their CDBG grant funds to create a pickleball court in the former skate park.
All right.
I think it's 2 pickleball courts, but
That's true.
Make it plural.
Okay. Into pickleball courts. Done. Good catch.
Right.
You never know if that comes back with the grants for some reason. That's perfect. All right, and I think that's also wonderful, showing the willingness for the grant, that gets them one step closer to what they need paperwork-wise too, that it's in the book. So thank you, Keith. If we vote yes. All right, we are going to do a roll call vote because they may need this if they utilize it for grants if we do pass it. So if you don't mind, a roll call vote on this one.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo, Bryce,
Yes.
Dylas,
Yes.
George,
No.
All right, thank you. That motion carries 6-1. I appreciate everybody's thoughts and input, and it gives Tony some great dialogue to take back as they begin the process. All right.
Just one more thing. Again, I just want to reiterate, if it's okay, that I sent an email to Ryan, to Rosalind, to Fred, and that's to Tom as well, letting them know what our decision was tonight. Because I expressed to Rosalind that she would have an answer from
just tell her the minutes will follow
Yeah.
to reflect that.
Appreciate that. Thank you. All right, thank you everybody for your input. Next up is our new business, which is item number 12. First, we have the fire department hiring. We did that we wanted you with us longer.
And I'm gonna stay here through the end.
Oh.
So, what we've had happen is, we had an individual that, has left, and So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you're looking for a motion?
I'm looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to hire John Mulville with the start date of May 16th, 2022.
Support.
We have a motion on the table by trustee Dylas, supported by trustee Rendazzo. Do we have any questions or comments at this time?
Just, I know that fire department has more medical runs than fire runs, so I'm sure it's probably gonna be easier to bring somebody in with medical experience that can be trained on fire than the other way around.
Well, and again, like we have discussed before, the paramedic program is a 2-year program. He just graduated from the fire program, and that was 6 months. So, to your point, exactly, it's a lot easier to get him trained up and bring him up to speed on the fire stuff.
Well, we appreciate you as always. Thank you. If we're ready for a vote, we will do a roll call vote, please.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Dylas,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Rice.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 7-0. Tell them congratulations for us.
I will, thank you.
Next up, item B is the upgrade to the Microsoft 365 business subscription. Who wants to start?
Sure. I'll start and then we'll talk IT committee as well. Your packet contains a quote from IT Right to transfer village email accounts to the IT Right system and to bring all accounts in line with Microsoft Office 365 for business and routine functions. IT committee has talked about this. It addresses several needs, as Larry mentioned earlier. Storage, our server is scheduled to be obsolete soon, and this would answer the storage question. It would allow each village account to have added usability, so things like Microsoft Teams and stuff like that we all use routinely now. We would have those all on the same platform. Currently, Office staff uses several different versions of Microsoft Office, so while all are secure, it is a lot of necks to wrangle, so it would be helpful to all be on one uniform system. The work takes time to schedule and complete, with much of the work taking place prior to the changeover. So that means we'll have some time in process, so it wouldn't happen until the next fiscal year. It wouldn't happen until after July 1st. It also means that members of Village Council, the Planning Commission, and staff will all get to learn how to use a new email format, because it is different from what we currently use. So that means you will have some educational opportunities if we vote for this tonight. So the quote reflects the work required to migrate data as well as the annual fee. Migrating data is done before the changeover. It's done by IT Right and their team. The annual fee will add each user to the Microsoft Exchange plan that will serve the need for email via Outlook. It'll also offer the entire Microsoft Office suite and Microsoft SharePoint with Teams. So this will supplant the current monthly fee paid to IGD Solutions, who will continue to manage the village website. If approved, the village manager will schedule payment and a work order date with IT Right and begin steps to manage this transition. So I recommend the village council approve the quote from IT Right in the amount of $3,108.
Make a motion to approve the quote from IT Right in the amount of $3,108.
Support.
We have a motion on the table by trustee Green, supported by trustee Rendazzo. Do we have questions or comments, input from Larry? Anything at this time?
Any questions, anybody?
Did you want to tell us anything?
Well, Ryan pretty much summarized it pretty good. Office 365 does give us it'll give us a lot of capabilities that currently we may be lacking. I know it's a lot easier to work off-site or remotely if you have a need to do so, because everything's cloud-based, and that means that there's also built-in backup and storage in the cloud. So it addresses some of the things we have talked about or looked at potentially on personnel side in terms of document retention policies and things, because it will be built right into Office 365. So there's a lot of benefits here. There's a little bit of a cost, but other thing is that you will continue to get security updates for all the software, and cybersecurity, of course, is an increasing concern all over the place, not just for businesses but also for municipalities. So we're going to get those updates automatically, It means that they'll also have updates, so they'll be able to read the latest versions of Word documents or PowerPoint documents and you know, no issues with compatibility or anything like that. So I think I see a lot of benefits. It does eliminate the need to have a server in the office. It will put our email into an email system that is sort of an industry standard out there, and save the email costs we currently have with IGD. So there's a lot of offsetting things that I think will really benefit us.
And are you guys still happy with IGD solutions and IT Right? I know that was being researched or looked at.
The IGD, we are still looking at IGD in terms of the website support, and we're actually in discussion with them. Ryan's going to be checking with them to find out what can be done about upgrading our website, because that's running on an outdated software platform that will need to be upgraded or migrated or something, and so Ryan's going to be work with them to find out the options for that.
I'm not, Jenna is.
Oh, Jenna's going to be doing. Okay, Jenna's going to be doing that. Sorry, Jenna.
That's okay.
I'm just so used to Ryan being the lead for everything.
You go, girl.
Any other
Jenna's going to do
questions
a
or
fantastic
comments?
job of working with them on that.
Any other questions on the Microsoft 365?
Larry, as far as backups, everything you just said would be backed up off-site, up in the cloud, but is there a way to get a weekly backup locally?
IT Right already is doing backups of the data on the server. I don't know if they do backups from the computer or not, but they already do backups from the server, which is where we should be storing our documents. With the move to Office 365, we'd be using SharePoint for the storage, and that would automatically be backed up in the cloud. But the backup frequency and such, yeah, we could discuss that with IT Right, but I think it's pretty much backed up as soon as you save something in there. And you can set up, I know for my company you can set up various types of policies and things like that for how many copies to back up, how long, and a lot of different things on the SharePoint site. There's a lot of options on SharePoint for how to do your backups and stuff like that.
And I'm sorry, all the computers are being upgraded to that need to accept that, right?
All of our computers now should be on Windows 10, I believe.
Yes.
We eliminated the
All
last
will
one
work
that
with
was an
this
older
version
version
of
of Windows. And all of them will work with Office 365. So there's no operating system upgrades needed to move in this direction. This is an upgrade of the Office software.
Anything else? Jenna, if you don't mind, this will be a roll call vote, please.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Guylas,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Rice.
Yes. That motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. Next up is the public education sessions, and I will send that over to Manager Mattis to start, please.
All right, your packet contains the summary of marijuana establishments ballot question document that was created by myself and our attorney. Voters in the village will face a ballot question unique to Ortonville voters on the August 2, 2022 ballot. So that's the purpose of this item. This item is shared to answer some basic questions that residents may have pertaining to the question they will encounter on the August 2 ballot. This is shared publicly as part of this meeting's packet and will be posted to the village website as well. Additionally, the opportunity to provide background information and inform residents of the ballot question as well as answer additional questions has been suggested. Two dates on June 22nd and July 11th have been identified as times to hold an open town hall style engagement for the public to come to Old Town Hall at 7 p.m., hear from village leaders about the ballot question, and have an opportunity to ask questions. I recommend the village council move to schedule 2 public education sessions regarding the marijuana establishment's ballot question on June 22 and July 11, 2022.
And make a motion to schedule 2 public education sessions regarding the marijuana establishment's ballot question on June 22nd and July 11th, 2022.
we have a motion on the table by trustee Nivell, supported by trustee Green. Questions or comments at this time, please?
Right, I just wanna make sure I'm looking at the dates, that would be Wednesday and Monday.
Yes.
Will our attorney be present at both?
He will be present at both. That's
Okay.
the reason for the two
Just
different.
Want to make sure he will
Dates,
be
yeah.
there, okay. And I'm assuming he is the only one kind of that will be answering any type of question.
The village attorney will act as village spokesperson on some of these specific questions because of the legalities involved.
Yes.
I don't wanna fulfill that role of village manager, so I'm deferring to our attorney
I
on
think
this one.
that's smart.
It's in your best interest.
I have a question. In the proposed summary here, second paragraph from the last, the ordinance establishes an annual fee up to $5,000 per applicant as determined by the village council. So, up to, why wouldn't we, if this did get passed for some odd reason, why wouldn't we say like $100,000 per applicant?
Cause the state law
State.
puts a cap on it at $5,000 per applicant.
'Cause Ann Arbor would be making millions for every application they're getting.
They already are.
Yeah, I know. They're getting some good residual.
Any other questions or
question.
comments on the public education session information? All right.
Oh, I do have one more question, I'm sorry. Will we be putting something in the paper in addition to, having this out about the town halls in the paper? Where else? Where else will it be?
So it'll be posted in the regular ways, in the
Right.
paper, on the website, shared with other entities like the library, the senior center, township, etc.
Okay. Have we thought about maybe inserting a flyer in the Citizen?
We as the village, or we as a
It-
separate
it-
entity,
Could be village, just saying that there's a town hall, just this right here.
that it's scheduled.
Yes, just saying if you wanna
I'm
come
sure we
up.
could do that. Yeah.
I don't know how,
Yeah.
what the cost would be, but, at least it would get the, and maybe Shelby can tell us, it would get the village, it would get the majority of the residents would get that in their paper at least. I know a lot of people don't look at our website, so.
And to put that under community events wouldn't be, there's no cost to that, that it's a community event that's happening, no different than our regular scheduled meetings. We can also do that and mention that in the township and have it, mentioned so it's in their minutes as well, things like that. I did have a question similar to that. When the, wording is posted, is this going to be posted as well? Or are we going to ensure that they're separate?
The wording for the
For
ballot
the ballot,
question?
yes, for the ordinance itself, when we actually post that.
So we will share them separately on the website, and any kind of press release or information shared will refer people back to that official document that's posted on the website. So to say, here's the ordinance in its entirety that is adopted it with, et cetera, and here's a summary that is a little easier to read, I hope, than the full thing.
What about those that
Perfect.
don't do website?
If you can share a link on social media that takes you to our website.
I know, Groveland just passed some ordinances and they had the entire ordinance and, in the paper on two separate for establishments and then for caregivers. They had the entire, I don't know if that's something that we can
Once it's
say it's
passed,
the,
we legally have to.
right, but,
After they adopted it, yes, they should, you
Okay.
get to
If
put that in
it's-
your paper of record.
right, but I didn't know if there's something we can say this is proposed or just to educate people. I just want people to know what they're voting on, that's all.
Exactly.
I think that can be confusing if it hasn't been
And it could be,
approved.
yeah, and I'm not
They
saying that's the way to
put that in
do it,
after they
yeah,
approved
but,
it. Yeah.
That's why I was worried about that they're located in the same place as long as they're separate.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Right, we have a full understanding of, right.
just one comment on the summer run. I didn't see in there, but I believe that in the way that the ordinance is linked to the ballot initiative is worded, is that if that passes, we are not able to change it for up to, what is it, 2 years or 3 years?
I think it's 3.
And I think that that's important to include in the summary, is that this ordinance was not written by the village, and the village would not be able to modify it for a period of X number of
If
years after
needed.
adoption.
Modify it.
Yeah, I mean, it says so right in, is that this cannot be changed for so many years, and that's one point I'm not, doesn't sit well with me, but if it passes and it's voted through, that's.
Gotta live with it. Yeah.
Because this is coming from the village and the village office, it has to be neutral in content and
Yep.
speak only to, you know, the
The
objective
neutral,
facts.
that is neutral to content. If
I'm
passed, this
happy.
ordinance cannot be changed by the village for a period of 3 years. That's exactly what it states in the ordinance, so that would be a neutral statement of fact, wouldn't it?
I am happy to ask our attorney to review that again. It's one we did discuss in drafting this, but I can.
Because I mean, if it's,
emphasize that point.
my feelings, if it's in their ordinance that they want to adopt, we can certainly state exactly what it says in that ordinance as a statement of fact.
Right. Won't that entire ordinance be shared, though? That's what the people need to know.
It is currently available from the village clerk. There's a copy on the counter in the office.
I kind of feel, though, that most people will read the summary and won't bother to go to the full ordinance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with what our attorney has drafted, and I know he's well aware, and he's worked with this and multiple areas, so I'm comfortable with what it is. Just my opinion. Anyone else, any thoughts or questions before we vote?
Roll call.
Anything you would like to add first? Any other thoughts you missed or we didn't highlight yet? Yes, we will do a roll call vote as well, as this does pertain to an election in ordinance.
What are we voting on specifically?
Would you please read us the motion?
To schedule 2 public education sessions regarding the marijuana establishment's ballot question on June 22nd and July 11th, 2022.
Who made the motion? Was that Melanie?
Neither.
Would you like to add the 7 PM, or are you fine with just the dates for those?
No, we can add that, please. Thank you.
At 7 p.m. And location.
Would you like to add location, or are you fine how you have it?
We can. Yes. No, I'd rather get as much in there and record for sure. Old Town Hall, please, Jenna.
And then will you read it one more time? You're done.
Are you looking out for me, Jenna? I like it.
Schedule 2 public education sessions regarding the marijuana establishment's ballot question on June 22nd and July 11th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Old Town Hall.
Thank
Are
you.
you good with that, Melanie?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, still good? Okay, are we ready for a vote? We will do a roll call vote, please.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Dylas,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Green, Hayden,
Yes.
Nivelt,
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. Thank you, that motion carries 7-0. Next up is item D, which is to schedule the 2022-2023 budget public hearing. I will send that over to Manager Mattis.
This one's pretty controversial. We get to have a public hearing on our 2022-2023 budget prior to adoption. It was discussed at the May 9th budget workshop that we hold that immediately prior to the June 27th village council meeting. So I recommend the village council make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the 2022-2023 budget for 6:45 p.m. on Monday, June 27th, 2022 at Old Town Hall.
Don't we have something else going before that too?
That's before the June 13th meeting, I believe you're thinking of. We have a council at 6 and everybody else at 7.
Okay.
I make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the 2022-2023 budget for 6:45 p.m. on Monday, June 27th, 2022.
Yeah.
To be held at the Old Town Hall.
Right?
Wasn't even suggested.
Do we have a
motion.
support for that?
Support.
We have a motion on the table by trustee Hayden, supported by trustee Nivell. Any questions or comments at this time? All right. We will go ahead and do a roll call vote for that as well, as that is a public hearing. Don't mind, please.
Dilus,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 7-0.
1 minute, nice work.
Good job, Brian.
Next up is item E, and that is the Old Town Hall accessibility. Who would like to start that this evening?
I will. Your packet the printed version, prior to amending the agenda, contained one bid on the ramp to Old Town Hall. We're all aware that the ramp is in pretty tough shape. After adding it to the agenda and our village president returning from a conference, we discussed and realized it would be much more appropriate to have multiple bids on an item like that. So I request that that this item, it can definitely be discussed tonight, but that we seek bids and bring this back to council at a future date.
And I just had some questions. That way I understand the process. Because when I first brought it up to you about the ramp, my understanding was you can pretty much approve up to 7,500, and that is with someone that we have worked with for previous goods and services. So is that is or is not the case, just so I understand for the future?
So the contractor in question is someone we've worked with before, but I think the policy states more that it's a person that we use for this stuff routinely. And I would argue that it's not a routine thing.
Then why didn't you say that? And we go out for the 3 bids when I brought it to your attention.
I think there's many more factors to that as well, not just specifically having 3 bids. Working on something that we haven't even had presented to us, which will be the July meeting. So when we see what this might look like, to have an idea what that would look like, to put everything together. We also don't have amounts yet for anything, so to see what that's going to cost. So to have that layout and to say, hey, this is what we'd like to allot here or there. There's a lot of variables to it.
But it's separate from Heritage.
So and to rush one piece of a puzzle before we have even had the presentation for the puzzle is kind of when you can wait a month and a half, you know, what's the deal with that? So to get the bids, to have them brought back to us, to have them be able to see and have that vision all at one, instead of piecemealing it together, that allows us to have all of the information at the same time. So that was another one of the concerns. Not allowing, especially community contractors, to have the chance to bid this. This is very important in all of our, you know, to many people in our community. A lot
We
of
would
people
all agree with that.
and a lot of people would like to have the chance to have that bid. So it's just being transparent. It's just being
And we would all
fair
agree
to-
with that. You always say that, and we're all very
So
transparent.
it's being transparent. This isn't transparent to approach one contractor and say, would you like this job? That's not transparent. It wasn't, the
That's not what
information wasn't
happened.
provided.
Is that what your understanding
So,
is?
to be transparent and allow multiple people that have a passion for our community, especially this building, to be involved in that is something that we really would like to do. So there were multiple facets to it, not just any certain bid, not just any certain contractor. It was ensuring that we're following those processes in good faith for our community.
Yeah, if I could comment,
Right.
I do feel that it is important for anything that's a significant amount, anything I would say over $5,000 or more. We should try to, I mean, I don't know what limit it is, but just for me, it shows greater fiscal responsibility if we do try to get more than one bid for projects.
Right. Then we need to change our policies, and that's the reason I wanted the discussion. Yeah.
Please don't interrupt me, Melanie, I'm trying to say something, okay?
Okay.
What I mean by that is that whether the policy allows us to do that or not on a single bid is not really the point I'm trying to make. It's more the point that, you know, when we are talking about Communities Monday, I think it is responsible that if more than one person's willing to bid on something, let's put it out and get a couple bids so we can review and get the best bid for our money. You know, it's even if we can only go with one, even if we can go with one bid, I just think it shows greater responsibility to try to get more than one.
I have no disagreement with that, but let's change our policy then. I mean, none of that was ever said to me, that none of that. So this isn't undermined it. This was something that get a bid, anything under 7,500, I can approve. So that's what we did. And it's not attached to Heritage Garden. The garden's the garden. This is more a safety issue.
I agree, but it does state in here that it's going to modify the ramp because of its impact on Heritage Garden. So Heritage Garden does play a role here. If it's changing
Yes.
the existing ramp, we would probably like to see something that shows exactly what the changes are before we just approve something without any kind of diagrams or description.
Well, Ryan did have the diagram and all the drawings, so. And that's fine. I just wanted to talk the process. And I don't know why that's,
Information to discuss it.
yeah, I don't know why.
Not only that, it's not in our 2022 budget at all. It would be nice to work into our 2023 budget and make it there. Have we had any input from the Historical Society at all? Have we even dialogued with them? What will this look like on a historical building? Is this something that, you know, there's a lot of things that could be done in a very short amount of time but need to be done so everybody can, you know, just be well aware that all of a sudden there's these new steps and nobody knew.
Yes, and I also don't feel like the existing ramp is posing any safety issue in the immediate future, so there's no rush to have to do it right away.
My only comment is, whatever we do, I hope we do it before our celebration next year. I would
I'm sure
hope
we will.
that could be completed before then, so that it can really be looking good and everything's in place and safe.
Well, I don't know, Ryan, is that something that you could, I'm not saying like giving you a date, but is that something that you could be on now that our roads are out of the way? Do you have time to contractors and bids and?
Not till he's back from
Right.
vacation.
I know that, but I'm just saying in general.
I'd be
Right.
happy to do that if that's what the council wants.
Within the year.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
And that is why it's on the agenda, so that we can do something about it. That was the whole reason of it being there, and then it was taken off, so. I'm glad that we're able to discuss it, so as a council, we can all decide if that's something we want Ryan to do.
Anybody else, anything?
It's on his to-do list, yes.
Is that, I was gonna say, is that the consensus that we would like to solicit bids?
Yeah, I think it's
I'm
worth
for it.
pursuing.
Not?
We don't need a vote, do we?
No, I'm just looking, making
Oh,
sure,
okay.
is that, I've only heard from
Ask
a couple
village
people.
manager to follow up.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Anything else on that? Thoughts, questions before we? All right, we will turn it over to Manager Mattis for the village manager's report.
All right, a couple things. Your packet contains a flyer for the upcoming Veterans Resource Fairs. Share with a friend, share with a veteran. Questions on that? All right, next up is from OSEF. Your packet contains a letter thanking the village for its continued support of OSEF. Questions there?
No, that was very nice that they sent that to us, though.
Yes. All right, next up, your packet also contains a thank you from the Brandon Groveland Youth Assistance. UIA does a very good job of celebrating youth in our community.
That was a very nice event.
Questions there? All right, last one, deconstruction update memo. Very excited to have the Crossman Park storm drain project completed. You'll notice I wrote my memo last week when work was still ongoing. Questions on Crossman Park storm drain? All right, Mill Street from Church Street all the way up to the village limit. Work began a couple of weeks ago, was completed last week. Communication was definitely an issue on this project, as was the Crossman Park storm drain. As was mentioned earlier, not a ton of traffic comes to our website. So continued improvement of our communication tools would greatly help with projects like this in the future. Questions on that one?
No, but I had heard the same thing, that why didn't they tell us? Well, it was my understanding, they did it before we had thought they were going to do it, what they had told us. So that made it impossible for us to notify anybody, timely.
Yeah, I have a question and a comment. Number one comment is that I noticed when they were doing that, I felt that maybe they didn't have as good a detour signage around, because at James they had a big flashing arrow that was there 24/7, whether the road was open or closed, but that seemed to be not as good as when we have events in the town. Events, we do a pretty good job of putting the detour signage around, and I was surprised we didn't have a little more on that. Second, when are they gonna do the striping on the portion of Mill Street west from downtown area? Because it seemed like that's just black, and I know they need to put the striping down and then, paint the parking spots and stuff. Is that gonna be done by our guys, or are they gonna be doing that?
It's a bit of a combination, so some things like the parking will be done by our crew, and then striping is one of the kind of punch list items that remain. There's a few others as well, to be completed before, final payment, so we've got a little time on that still.
Right, the crosswalks, were they gonna put those bricks back down? I thought that was something that Larry had inquired about.
Yeah, they mentioned something like stamped concrete or something, but I guess that was probably eaten up by cost overruns.
It was one of the few pieces where we had wiggle room, and that it didn't fit in the budget to do stamped concrete. You'll see it's all asphalt, except for the one remaining paver crosswalk. Bob and I and Matt have talked about some ways to mark the crosswalk, so those conversations are ongoing.
There were some concerns about residents and how they were talked to from the one, from Diamond or the other one. I just want to make sure I'm getting the right company.
Not from Diamond.
No, who was the paving?
The
Who were-
subcontractor who did the final
Yes.
paving.
What was the name?
Chippewa Asphalt.
Okay. So, do we need to address anything, or is that someone we want to continue to work with in the future? Or are you okay? Are you okay with that, or since you had to deal with that, are you okay with continuing to have them as one of our supplier vendors?
Several residents as well as village staff had a bad experience working with Chippewa Asphalt. And I would not recommend working with them in the future. They were a subcontractor of Diamond Excavating, who was the primary contractor, and we've talked about this at length of we would not like to work with Chippewa in the future. And I'm looking at the camera because you're making me put it on record, so Chippewa Asphalt, we don't want to work with you in the village of Ortonville, or at least I don't as village manager. Thanks for making me say it. Anything else?
No, we appreciate everything, the way you handled it. We appreciate those speed bumps,
Yes,
and
we felt
you did a great job. And
bad
I
for
know
you.
the residents felt comfortable coming to you, and you were able
Yep.
to fix it, so we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just remember how much we love you.
And an update on upcoming work. The 3 bridges, as you know, will be under construction this summer. I met with Rowe Engineering last week to discuss the work to be completed. And I met with their project manager, and we talked about timelines for each. And then later this week, a pre-construction meeting with engineers and the contractors is scheduled. So I'll be meeting with them to talk more about the actual timeline of when they plan to be in town and what each project looks like and things like that. So I should have more information soon. As we've discussed, no work will take place prior to July 6th, and I will do my best to communicate updates as I get them.
Yeah, we really need the citizens to know about this, because it's gonna affect everybody.
The bridge on Mill Street, are they gonna do any work where that new asphalt is?
No, it's only on the bridge itself. That was part of the plan. Yep. And they're aware of the work that was just completed. questions? And then the last item under manager's report is staff evaluations. As Kay mentioned, personnel committee and I are working on that to create a fair and informed process for staff evaluations as related to you know, budgeting decisions and things like that for the upcoming year. So, more to come.
I have two questions. Number one, whatever happened with the painting on the old mill?
Nothing?
Ongoing.
Still trying to get quotes?
Flakiness is not a good quality in a contractor who does painting.
We did hire someone, or?
We did approve a bid, here all week. We did, and the contractor we approved has been very uncommunicative and hasn't followed through. So we are likely to rebid that. It's one that we've gotten bids for several years for that project, and if you're a painter, you probably bid it and you don't want to come bid it again. So working on it is how I'd sum that up.
Second question was, we had the property in the park, we were helping out, I forget how exactly to describe it, where we allocated some land for septic field behind the buildings there. You know what I'm talking about?
Crossman Park.
Yeah.
So we, the business owners and I had several conversations about that, and so far, our drain project has helped immensely with their, it has lessened the need to put in a much bigger engineered system as they were thinking they might a year ago when I started. May was my first meeting last year. So that was the conversation. Then, so far so good with the drain is addressing some of the issues they were having. But more to come. I haven't poked that bear in a bit.
Sure, I just didn't know if there's any,
Yeah.
what was happening with that.
Yeah, I haven't heard otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Anything else you have? Is there anything else? All right, thank you very much. Next up is the public comments. At this time, they're on non-agenda items only. We would love to hear from you. Please keep in mind you have 3 minutes. Just kind of stand, raise your hand, introduce yourself. Yes, please.
And your name is, sir?
An address.
My name is Wayne Wills. I reside in Brandon Township at 4 North Church Street. I also reside in the village of Ortonville at 4 North Church Street.
Yes.
People laugh, but it's the truth. I pay taxes both to Brandon Township. A separate tax check goes to Brandon Township, and a separate tax check goes to the village of Ortonville clerk. Now, the reason why I bring this up, first of all, I want to thank all of you for all of your efforts here tonight and every night. It's not easy, and I appreciate all you're doing on behalf of the community.
Thank you.
I came back from my snowbird trip to Florida, first time down there, and I did some nosing around, and I discovered that, much to my chagrin, the administrators in our jurisdictions no longer meet weekly to discuss common interests. This has been not going on since COVID, and it's very disconcerting that one entity does not know, nor does one entity not care what the other entity is doing. We're seeing examples of that tonight. We're seeing people not communicating. Point in fact, earlier this week, there was a tornado in Gaylord. We used to have emergency practice sessions, what to do if there's an emergency from a weather event. Another point in fact, we had a tragedy shooting in Oxford earlier this year. Is Lieutenant Glover, the Oakland County Sheriff Department, talking with the school district? Or are they not? So we have events that are coming, special events that come through town, closing streets for whatever purpose. The council School District. I'm talking about the Charter Township of Brandon. I'm talking about the Village Council. I'm talking about the Fire Department. I had a lengthy conversation with Chief Roberts today. And there are some synergies. There are some good things that can happen by having communication. And so my thinking is, and this might have been a victim of COVID, which I suspect it probably was. I also know that it was a victim, one of our elected officials didn't feel it was necessary anymore. So, didn't want to have to take the time to have a Tuesday morning meeting for half an hour before work. Because they got other things to do. So, you know, I think this is very disconcerting for our community, and it shows up tonight because of some of the things that have happened that have been on the agenda. So, I appreciate everything you're doing, but I think things could be better. Thank you.
Well, the good news is you have 3 of your leaders right here who heard your suggestion, and maybe the 3 of them can get together and make it happen. No pressure.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Hi there, I'm Jacob Newby. I'm running for state representative in the new 66th district, which has Brandon, Ortonville, Oxford, and Addison. I'm an Addison Township trustee. I live in Lakeville, and we're on the ideas of prioritizing local infrastructure because I see it's a need, freedom and less government, and cutting wasteful state spending. And just glad to be here. Looking forward to working with you guys, and that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, please.
I'm Laura, I'm the library director. If those meetings happen, I'm proud to be a part of that. 2 things, quick. Thank you to Ryan for all his communication with me about the South Street Bridge. He has been working, I just appreciate him a lot. He was working on getting more temporary access for us, and luckily that's not going to be necessary. And working with us on dates that won't impede our summer meetings as much as possible. I know it's not set in stone, but just the fact that he's asking those questions means a lot to us, so thank you. My other comment is, after the holiday weekend, this weekend, the library will be open till 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Thursday. So if you have future public education sessions and you would like a neutral place for it, we would be very happy to host something like that for you, or if anybody has any need for late night meetings, the library will be open till 8 o'clock. And along those lines, when you have things like that, those, Ryan, if you could share those with us, we'd be happy to post that stuff on our social media as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate the collaboration. Thank you. Anyone else? Non-agenda items? We'd love to hear from you. Shelby, you're the only one we haven't heard from. Please.
You all know me, I'm Shelby, I'm from East Citizen. I just want to say to Ryan and to the DPW, thank you for all the extra work you did around the construction. We watched cars pull U-turns and back up, down the street at least 10 times a day because of lack of road closed signs. So I know that that's something I had reached out to Bob about previously because we were worried that someone was going to get hit. And I know they've got a lot of extra work surrounding all of that.
Thanks, Ann.
And we appreciate you making the community aware as well with your articles, so thank you. Anyone else? We appreciate all the input. We love to hear all the ideas and all the feedback. Thank you. All right, next up is the additional items from the trustees, and we will start with Tony, please.
Okay, this past Saturday, Parks and Rec just finished the first 6 months of movies here in the Old Town Hall. We appreciate that we were able to use it. It's fun, and we're going to be moving over to our outdoor movies, which will be June, July, and August. June 16th will be our next one, and that is going to be the movie Cantu. The library is sponsoring that. They're going to be bringing some things out to Sherman Park, and you know, more to follow on Parks and Rec website for Brandon. And there was one more thing. I think that was about it. Yeah, June 16th, movie in the park. So come on out, it's free.
Thank you very much. Melanie, please.
I am all set, thank you.
All right. Claire?
Yeah.
Go back.
Well, you know, Wayne mentioned having, he mentioned the tornado that came through up in Gaylord and the sort of things that could happen here for an emergency situation. We also have talked about events. We've seen 3 event permits come through in today's packet. We've talked about a lot of events and things like that. And we had Chief Quapis here about the firefighters and stuff, and all this kind of ties into something that I do besides being on council, which is with I volunteer as a CERT member, and our CERT team is out there. It is out there for helping out in exactly those areas. If there's a disaster in the community, the CERT team would be deployed by the fire department to assist with helping the emergency personnel in a situation like that. We also do assist the fire department when they are on a major event or incident, and we can provide some support services for their personnel when they're at any like major fire or something. And you know all the community events around here. Unfortunately, the last 2 years with the pandemic, our CERT team has seen a bit of attrition of members, and it also has really limited our opportunities for recruitment. Now we're looking forward as events are gearing up and more activities going on. We really are looking for the community and asking people in the community, if you love this community the way I do, and if you want to do something for the community, we ask you please consider volunteering as part of the CERT team. We are out there doing our best to try to make these events safe, to try to help out the fire department as called upon to do so. And it's a great opportunity. We have a lot of great training. We work with the fire department on trainings and such. And it's a great way to give back to the community. So I would urge anybody who's out there who has considered volunteering to consider volunteering for our CERT team. And that's what I want to say. We're really hoping to get some new members this year because we really see a lot of activities ramping up, and right now it's going to be tough for our team to support it unless we get some new members on board. And, hopefully you'll see us at events and we can share information with you, and please consider volunteering. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate, is there anything please?
I just want to say I'm really thankful that we're getting a lot of projects done. We don't blow our own horn enough because there's many, many things that have been worked on and completed, and we're still working on them, and I'm just glad and proud that we are doing that. That's all.
Point.
And it's cold in here again, freezing.
Pat, please.
Yeah, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, the Under the Lights baseball tournament is being held over at Sherman Park. And if you wonder what, and this tournament draws teams obviously from other communities, some teams from out of state. And if you're wondering what our perception is from other towns, and that people love coming here. They've been doing it for some of them multiple years, and speak very highly of visiting Ortonville. So it's fun. You're not going to get a chance to park, but it's big and it's fun. That's it.
Definitely. Thank you. Keith?
Hi, Chair. So I was trying to go back in my memory banks, but it's a little foggy. But 3-4 years ago, last time I was on council, there was an issue with there was a auto parts store trying to come into the township, and the township has building codes that the building has to look a certain way. And so there was a big issue there, and it fell through because they couldn't meet what they were trying to do. So, long story short, there was a lot of talk about the building, the look and aesthetics of the building, and the township has those codes, and at the time we did not as a village. And I thought we were moving forward with trying to implement some type of codes that when you upgrade and redo your buildings in town, that we would have a cohesive look. I thought we had done that, and as I see a bunch of upgrades in town, while the upgrades are fantastic in individual items, we don't have a very cohesive look in town. So I guess my question is, do we not have that ordinance or rule, or I don't know, I guess we call it an ordinance? And if we don't, can then we get a look back at doing that?
I can
I was
answer
gonna
that.
say, do you want to start with Ryan or planning?
I was on planning when we did the last zoning rewrite, and we started going in that direction. It's called form-based coding, where it's not so much what is happening within the establishment, it's more about how it looks in relation to the rest of the community. And so we started in that direction last time. There's a lot of examples about buildings should look like this, that, and the other. I'm hoping this time around that the planning commission, when they start working with Carlisle Wortman this way, will go more fully into that direction to the form-based coding, at least for the downtown district, to try to maintain a better, more cohesive community look and feel of the
So
town.
is there an official plan to implement that through the planning commission?
I will defer that to Melanie, who's our planning commissioner representative, if you have any.
That is what we are working on right now. When we had brought something to council, and next meeting for planning commission, Carlisle Wortman will be there. And if you can join in, that would really be good. But yeah, we are looking at form-based codes for downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And I'm not sure if, I know some of these buildings did the DDA, and what?
Facade grants.
Yeah, facade grants. I have no idea if those grants had any guidelines to the fronts. I don't know.
So
And that would be Tanya?
those do, the DDA facade grant does have pretty stringent guidelines. The current zoning ordinance is pretty light on design standards, intentional or no, but it is. And it's one that we've talked about beefing up in the next version of the zoning ordinance. And form-based code is on the docket with Carlisle Wortman on Tuesday, June 7th.
Yep.
So be there or be square.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll touch on the facade grants through the DDA. They are more historically stringent, but the business can also opt out. So we have had businesses that either applied and their qualifications didn't meet, or they applied and they saw the mock-up of what, would meet the standards and they chose not to. And then we have some that say, okay, that sounds great. And it sounds silly, but they are very, very strict standards. And I don't want to point out any one specific building, but it's as simple as the materials in which you use for your new roof across the street. And they chose not to because it made no sense to them in the way of upkeep and expense. So the grant would not have offset anything. It didn't make sense to them. So it's a request, it's not a mandate specifically for a grant.
Through the DDA.
Correct.
Okay.
So I didn't want you to, they're very strict standards, but again, that's a request. If you'd like to apply for
I
this
see.
grant, would you like to meet these qualifications? And that's it, so,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, one last thing, sorry. Ryan, we had talked a few meetings back about improving the lighting in here. Did that ever get addressed?
No.
Doesn't seem like it
We
got
got a
addressed.
bulb out too.
Yeah, we have one bulb out this
Did you ever notice that these 4 fans have 4 lights and these ones only have 3?
And they're really dim.
Nice.
And they were,
That's yeah. It's weird, right? Yeah, it's on the list of projects to
Called sale.
improve. I think I'm more interested in getting people in the building safely than lighting it. But
But this is a
I think
Yeah.
Wayne bought
yeah.
that was before my time.
Thank you.
All right, anything else, Keith?
Nope.
I only had a couple things. Just a reminder, the farmer's market preview day is May 28th, 9 to 2. That's this Saturday. Weather looks nice, I think, to come down, and it's only going to get better, so please come down. Those of us that are interested in volunteering, we would love to see you. There's multiple ways in which you could volunteer that day as well. I've heard many discussions tonight about special event permit. There's kind of been a starter discussion with Ryan on reviewing that special event permit. We have entities that aren't sure if they should apply, we have entities that are applying and others that aren't, and it's not very consistent, and things like that. So just keep that in mind. I know there's kind of a confusion there, so we don't really have any definition. We just created this fabulous permit, so we knew what was going on, but nobody's sure how to use it. So we're gonna take that a step further and work on that.
Some people are.
So, well, some people use it that don't need to, and others that aren't, you know, so, and then they're asking, do I need to? And it's a good question, because there is no specific regulations. If I'm doing this, I must have one. If I'm doing this, I don't need one, et cetera. So that's definitely been, you know, something that's puzzling that we'll address, I hope. That's everything I have. So, anybody forget anything? Ryan, anything you'd like to add?
I just want to say thank you for your support and patience and willingness to get to, I call them legacy issues, the Crossman Park storm drain and Mill Street. They are issues that existed long before I started just over 1 year ago, and they are issues that we can now cross off our list for the foreseeable future. So you are the village council that got those things done. So thank you very much.
That's right.
Because you came back.
I lied there. I had one last thing. Ryan, you had mentioned to me a meeting or two ago that you were bringing the capital improvement plan. I thought it was to this meeting.
Planning Commission saw it and discussed it at their May meeting. They're gonna see it again at their June meeting on Tuesday, June 7th, be there or be square. It's gonna be a good meeting. And then the hope is that they will move to recommend the village council adopt it. So there's a strong chance it will be reviewed at the June 13th joint meeting between the Planning Commission, Village Council, and DDA.
That'd be nice.
What time is that meeting?
7 o'clock.
We have a lot of
At 6.
information on that little.
Nope, for, who was asking.
I was gonna say, would you mind plugging that one again as well?
Planning Commission on June 7th, be there or be square. But then the next, I know, I was kidding. The next one is the joint meeting between the Village Council, Planning Commission, and DDA. It's the second of our 3 joint meetings throughout the year. DDA's had theirs in April. This one's hosted by council. We're talking about the budget, the 2022-23 budget, as well as capital improvements plan. Should be a good time. Village Council come at 6 p.m. on the 13th for a quick budget workshop. We'll talk through a couple priorities then, and then we will have the other 2 boards, commissions join us at 7 p.m. for a joint meeting. The 3rd joint meeting is August 4th, led by the Planning Commission. We'll plug that one at a future date too.
Excellent, thank you. All right, looks like we have nothing left but to adjourn.
Good.
Anyone?
Motion to adjourn?
Support?
What was that you? We have a motion on the table by trustee Green, supported by trustee Hayden. Questions, comments? Hearing none, it is 9:04 and we adjourn. Have a fabulous evening. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.